Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Dental Hygiene Basics podcast. My name is Dana. I'm your host. Really excited to be here and talk to you about something that I don't know, it's been on my mind lately. Lately, I've been having these kind of recurring thoughts about how dental hygiene is almost like a sport, right? And when you were going through dental hygiene school, it's like training for a competition. And in case you didn't realize, dental hygiene basics, when I came up with the concept, I really wanted this company to be about support, community, and honestly, the vibe that I got and what I was trying to kind of achieve is this college sports meets dental hygiene mentality. I love college sports. I am a huge fan. I had a great time. I went to Oklahoma State, loved going to the football games, the basketball games, and it's something that's still a big part of my life. And I don't know why, but that was the vision I had when I was building my company of college sports meets dental hygiene. So if you're checking out any of my branding, which I've got a new website, I've got all my branding on my social media, I'd be curious to see, do you get that vibe? Because that's really what I was going for. Okay, with that being said, thinking through dental hygiene as almost like an athletic endeavor, and we're thinking about dental hygiene school, right? It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, right? We have to pace ourselves and we have to get through all the way to the end in order to achieve that goal of getting your license. But something that has been on my mind lately is basically how athletes show up to perform. And as dental hygienists, we can take some of those same concepts that athletes use and use them as we're getting ready for dental hygiene school or in dental hygiene school. And one thing that I want to talk about today is visualization. I have talked about visualization on the podcast before. I really do think that if we can visualize like the future, what we want, I always tell my students who are struggling, I'm like, visualize yourself walking across that stage. Take that tassel, you move it to the other side, right? You get your diploma, like visualize that finish line and it will happen for you, right? There's another way that we can use visualization that actually will improve our skills as a dental hygienist. So I came across this research study that was talking about how they did a study with three different groups and it was basketball players. Okay, the first group was practicing their free throw shots. So they were out there, practicing free throw shots for a certain period of time. The second group simply visualized their free throw shots. Okay, they did not do any extra practice, they were visualizing it. And then the third group did nothing additional. So after several weeks, the group that was physically practicing improved their shooting accuracy by 24%. The group that only visualized, meaning they did not go out there and practice any additional or anything like that, their free throw shots improved by nearly the same amount, around 23%. And the control group, which was the group that did nothing different, they showed no improvement. So getting out there and practicing showed almost the same results as just visualizing what you're going to do. And I thought that was so interesting. And I do believe that if you can get in the hang of visualizing and really running through the steps of what you're supposed to do in your head, it will allow you to perform better when you step into preclinic or at the clinic floor. Okay. A couple of ways that you can utilize this. The first is when you are in preclinic, or if you are in clinic now and you have to do any type of competency that requires anything, it doesn't matter if it's a hand skill, it doesn't matter if it's you practicing or it's you testing on giving oral hygiene instructions, right? And someone's watching you. It doesn't matter what you're doing. I want you to visualize yourself doing that. It has to go, though, beyond just, I see myself in the clinic and I'm talking to the patient. You have to visualize from start to finish. What does that process look like? If you're giving oral hygiene instructions, what exactly are you saying to the patient, right? It's almost like you're rehearsing. And then the more you rehearse that in your head, it just becomes a part of your brain. Your brain thinks that you can do it if you can think it, right? And I think that's so interesting. It's like if you can dream it, you can do it because that is how our brain works. That is how our brain builds these neural pathways. It's by envisioning it. So let's say that you are in preclinic and you are learning to use your instruments, right? And you're going to have a competency. If you're not in preclinic yet and you've never learned how to use instruments, I'm just going to tell you now, it's way more difficult than you think. You may look at a dental hygienist and think that anyone can do that job, but it takes a lot of training and practice to become a seasoned and skilled dental hygienist with really excellent hand skills. So with that being said, how are you going to visualize these procedures, right? So that you can go in and crush your competency exams. What I'm going to suggest that you do is you have your evaluation sheet. Most schools, before you go into tests, they give you your evaluation sheet. You may have to print it off and bring it in with you, right? That evaluation sheet is everything step by step that you need to do to pass the exam, right? So, what can we do? First, we're going to basically memorize that evaluation sheet, right? Step one, step two, step three. What do I have to do to get all of the points on this exam? So you have to know how you're being tested so that you can show up and perform properly for the exam. The next thing is, okay, when you are going through that sheet, you need to be able to visualize what each step looks like and what it would look like if you were doing it. Okay. So let's say that you are being tested on clock positions, right? On the exam sheet, it's going to say, sit at this clock position, sit at this clock position, or where would you sit if you were working on this tooth, right? They give you specific instructions. You need to be able to close your eyes and visualize, where am I going? What does that look like? What does my body look like? Do I have my, shoulders are relaxed, but I'm seated upright, right? My head is neutral. My hands are neutral. You're following exactly what you're supposed to do step by step. This is really helpful when you start picking up instruments as well, because there is a sequence to instrumentation. First, you have to pick up the instrument, make sure you choose the right one, right? And then you have to make sure that your modified pin grasp is correct. So that's step one. Visualize yourself holding the instrument perfectly in your hand. It's the most beautiful modified pin grasp. Your instructors are clapping and they're crying. It's the most beautiful pin grasp they've ever seen, right? And then you take your hand, and what do you have to do first? You have to go fly in and land on the tooth. So you need a nice strong fulcrum. You need to make sure you're on the right tooth, right? You're visualizing all of these things in your head. You put the instrument up against the tooth. First, you check your adaptation. Then you check your angulation, right? And then what you're going to do is take a big deep breath in, out, and now you're ready to start activating the instrument. And the activation of the instrument is really not that hard. A lot of times we overthink it, or we try and rush. We try and go from the start to the finish too quickly, right? All you have to do, up, down, pivot, roll, up, down, pivot, roll, right? You're just moving the instrument in a gentle, gentle stroke, up, down, pivoting and rolling the entire time so that you follow along the shape of the tooth. But what a lot of students do is they don't realize all of the steps. And a lot of times you don't realize the mistakes that you're making until after you take the exam. Whereas if you memorize that sheet and you're visualizing it in your head, you'll get to a point where you realize, they're saying on here, I need to be properly angulated, but I cannot visualize that in my head. That means you don't understand it, right? So what do you need to do? You need to have a chat with your professors and say, I understand this, this, and this. The one thing I'm really not understanding is the angulation, right? And then what you can ask them to do is say, okay, can you record me and you like correct my angulation, right? Have them record you on your phone if they're willing to do that. Then you take that home and you watch that over and over until you can visualize it on your phone, right? And you can close your eyes and you can see it. Okay. So when you're falling asleep at night, you're like, I'm adapting, I'm angulating, I'm activating, right? You're visualizing it all in your head and you're getting the hang of each sequence. Now, once you get in there to take your exam, if you've been visualizing for a while, you will see that your brain will start to connect what you see in your brain to what's happening in your body. That is how those neural pathways are formed. So, again, if you can't see it and you can't visualize it, then you are going to struggle to do it. When you get in there to take these exams, make sure you slow down and you give your brain the opportunity to connect the dots between each step, right? We have to be able to move through those patterns of visualization while you are actually doing this exam, right? So, what a lot of students do is they sit down and they just rush through. They're like, okay, I pick up my instrument, I get right on the tooth, and I go, go, go. And then you make mistake, 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 or one mistake or multiple mistakes. It doesn't really matter. What happens is your brain is not ready to pick up an instrument and dive right in like a dental hygienist who's been doing it 10 years, right? It's like a baby learning to walk. You have to slowly crawl, right? Then you have to get your footing and start moving. It's never just like you stand up and you just start walking. That's not how it works. We have to build those pathways in your brain. So if you've been visualizing it, you are already going to perform better when you sit down. Now, They have actually done research in dental education, and it has shown that visualization significantly improves fine motor skills, which is exactly what you need as a dental hygienist to be successful in your career in instrumentation. They divide students up into groups where some either practice the procedures and some just use visualization. And they found that the students who use visualization completed procedures in significantly less time while maintaining similar accuracy. Okay, so if you're the type where you're like, it's just taking me forever to get the hang of instrumentation, or it's taking me a long time to feel comfortable in clinic, I want you to start visualizing it. Think about the things that are holding you back, and I want you to picture yourself doing them seamlessly. What does it look like? And I think what you're going to realize is you probably don't fully know all the steps involved to getting from point A to point B. An example of this could be, let's say that you are learning how to place sealants on the teeth, right? When you start practicing the visualization, you have to know the steps. And if you don't know the steps, you can't visualize. If you can't visualize, it's going to make it way harder to go in and just flow through the sequence of placing a sealant, right? So you have to first know the steps, then you have to picture them in your head. When you're picturing them, what you're going to realize is, oh, I keep forgetting what comes after this step and then what comes next, right? What do I need to do? But the more that you practice that, it's just going to become ingrained in who you are. And it takes time to build these habits essentially of, skills that look like a hygienist who's been doing it for years. It takes time to get there, but we can speed up that process if you start visualizing. Okay. So that is all I have for you today. I'm going to highly encourage you to try this out and see how it goes. I would love to hear from you. Send me a message on socials if you feel like this is going well. I'm at Dental Hygiene Basics. If you need help or you're struggling with anything, please reach out to us. We would love to help you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Best of luck on your journey. Future registered dental hygienist.